If you haven't seen this yet, you're in for a treat. Renowned Oxford mathematician and Christian John Lennox hits back at atheism with an elaborate, thoughtful argument for the existence of God. And it's a sight you don't want to miss. I'll be the first to admit that it can be a little frustrating sometimes crafting a response against atheistic arguments. But what you're about to witness is a Christian comfortable in his belief, and a masterclass on setting the scene for truth. Before we get down to it, make sure you subscribe and hit the notification bell for more videos like this.
I believe in God. I believe in the supernatural God who created the heavens and the earth. I believe in a God who holds the heavens and the earth in existence. I believe that on the basis of rational evidence, similar to the beliefs held by the founders of this house. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm not ashamed of being both a scientist and a Christian, because arguably Christianity gave me my subject. What I am amazed at is that serious thinkers today continue to ask us to choose between God and science. That's like asking people to choose between Henry Ford and engineering as an explanation of the motor car.
I'm not gonna lie, there's something so inspiring about John Lennox's intro, and the way he makes his position clear. With all the atheistic stuff flying around and the prejudice and censoring that comes with it, Christians appear to be on the back foot whenever they have to declare their identity publicly. Well, that's one leaf to borrow from John Lennox. And I say one because there are more. Did you catch the Henry Ford engineering analogy? It hits the nail on the head, and I'm going to tell you why. The atheistic argument for the absence of God is usually rooted in science. For them, it's either science or God. And the existence of science and empiricism proves that there's no God. But that's not so. God is the creator, and science is both the process and the mode of analysis. Through it, we get to see the underpinnings of what God has created, as well as the fabric of the systems put in place to sustain us. But for some reason, humans tend to perceive the ability to gain insight as a statement of power, this independence and indisputable proof that there's no God. Well, John has more to say about that.
But people are now so desperate to show that the universe created itself from nothing, which seems to me to be an immediate oxymoron. If I say X created Y, I'm assuming the existence of X to explain the existence of Y. If I say X created X, I'm assuming the existence of X to explain the existence of X. And we've unraveled a bit of that, seeing the fine-tuning of the fundamental forces of nature. It's something that's so striking to scientists that it demands explanation. And it seems to me that Arno Penzias hit it right. He is the Nobel Prize winner who discovered the microwave background on which a lot of the evidence for the Big Bang is based. He said astronomy leads us to a unique event, a universe which was created out of nothing, one with the very delicate balance needed to provide exactly the right conditions required to permit life, and one which has an underlying, one might say, supernatural plan. A leading philosopher, Alvin Plantinga of Notre Dame, says if atheists are right that we are the product of mindless, unguided natural processes, then they have given us strong reason to doubt the reliability of human cognitive faculties, and therefore inevitably to doubt the validity of any belief that they produce, including their atheism. Their biology and their belief in naturalism would therefore appear to be at war with each other in a conflict that has nothing at all to do with God.
You don't need to be a Christian, an atheist, or agnostic to know that one of the centerpieces of science is curiosity. And not just any kind of curiosity. Curiosity born from an attraction to the intricate and elaborate design of the world around us. The comprehensive construction of all these systems and phenomena that make us and the world around us tick is what science seeks to understand. And the fact that everything is tailored to the T to remit and sustain life negates the belief that the universe created itself, because now you have to wonder about a lot of things. Why would the universe create itself? How would it know to stop the creation process right where it did? Its systems tend to have a purpose. Why? What reason would a mindless universe have for creating the specific things it did? And they're very specific. What reason would a mindless universe have for creating human beings with minds? Like John Lennox smartly points out, to say the universe created itself is to infer that the universe existed to create itself. Yeah, that doesn't sound quite right, does it? All of these issues boil down to one conclusion: an unwillingness to approach the God factor by its own terms.
And I want to strongly emphasize that God is not a theory, he's a person. And if the origination of me qua person is a personal God, then the most exciting thing really is there a possibility of getting to know God?
What John Lennox does here is give words to a feeling that builds up whenever I see atheists or agnostics argue against the existence of God. You see, I don't think the issue is the lack of belief in God as much as it is getting to know him. Of course, it's not as straightforward as it seems because you actually need to believe he exists before you make any attempts to know him. But John clearly points out one truth that I think even Christians passively ignore, and that's the fact that God is not a theory. He is indeed a person, and science helps our human eyes see and perceive the presence of his divine person through his creation. You probably will agree with me when I say ideologies and concepts cannot be analyzed and handled the same way as a person. If we must understand a person, we have to do so on their terms. When was the last time you tried getting to know someone by your own standards and terms? How'd that go? Now, we're talking about someone who is far superior and complex enough to have created the universe. And you think you're going to brute force your way into knowing him, and that's going to cut it? You might want to think again. Let's get back to John.
Granted that life presents us with a double picture. We see some beautiful things. We see some ragged edges. We see hurt and pain, and we see joy. How can we come to terms with that? And it seems to me here is no simplistic answer, but a window into an answer, and it's this. If it is actually true that Jesus is, as I believe him to be, the Son of God, then we can ask the question, what is God doing on a cross? And the answer comes back at the very least. God has not remained distant from our human suffering, but has become part of it. And the other side of that is this: because Jesus rose from the dead, he is going to be the ultimate judge. Now here's an irony, because atheism has no ultimate hope of justice by definition. The vast majority of people in the history of the world have died without justice and will die without justice. And if death is the end, then of course they have no hope of ultimate justice. But the promise in the New Testament, guaranteed by the resurrection of Jesus, is that he is to be the judge in the coming day.
The presence of pain and hurt in the world has also been another weapon in the atheist's arsenal. And that's another mistake that atheists and even Christians make. They believe that the existence of God should somehow mean the absence of pain and hurt in this world. This is where the sin of Adam and Eve comes in. They destroyed God's original design for mankind and instituted the life we now have. I think the fact that Jesus didn't distance himself from suffering is telling. Pain and hurt is a part of life. One way or another, it comes to you, even if you're a Christian. However, while atheism emphasizes the finality of death and hopelessness, implying a meaninglessness in life, God emphasizes hope, especially the ultimate kind, taking away the power of death and any chance that life might be meaningless. As usual, don't hesitate to drop your own thoughts down in the comments section. If you found this video interesting, you'd be doing someone a favor by sharing it with them. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.